melancholy that night. Winston was in her thoughts, and she needed him to go away for a bit. The bourbon had been an attempt to get him off her mind, but it had ended up doing the opposite. Now all she wanted to do was look at his photos, hear his voice, feel his touch. She'd been prepared to one day lose him, of course. The women in her family almost always seemed to outlast the men, but the reality of it was something she still battled every day. It would be easier if she hadn't loved him so damn much. There was a price to be paid for getting to be with your soulmate, she supposed, and she'd always assumed it was something she was happy to pay. But nights like this, it was pure torture. Sumter had jumped off the Davenport then, yowling his "Feed me, woman" meow. She glanced over at the cat's bowls that sat on newspaper in the corner of the kitchen and noticed they were empty. "Poor kitties," she slurred. "I'm a terrible cat mama, aren't I? Sorry, sweethearts. I'll feed you right up." She stood up, and her head felt like it was wobbling for a moment. She braced herself against the arm of the couch until the feeling passed. She already knew she'd regret this drinking tomorrow morning, but that was what they made ibuprofen for. She'd sleep all day and would abstain for the rest of the week to make up for it. The kibble was in the cabinet over the toaster oven. She waddled over and was just about to reach up for it when she heard the argument outside. "You fucking asshole!" Sarah Helen was startled at the language, especially since it sounded like it was coming from a young woman. She wasn't sure why she was surprised. Kids these days had the worst mouths, even if they came from good families that raised them better. But all the same, it stunned her to hear it, especially being that it was so late. She tried to look out her kitchen window to see who was causing the commotion, but kudzu had grown over most of it, and she'd left her glasses next to the snifter of bourbon on the side table in the living room. She couldn't see a thing, but she heard them. It was at least two people now, a woman and a man. "Don't be such a stupid bitch about it," she heard a man say. "You knew what this was about." She could tell someone had shoved the other, but she couldn't see who. She was about to tap on her window to let them know they could be heard, hopefully shaming them into stopping whatever this was that was happening. But Wando had sauntered into the kitchen and jumped on the counter, knocking over the open bottle of liquor. "Wando!" she exclaimed. "Damn cat!" She immediately felt bad for cursing at her companion, and for a moment the argument outside was forgotten. "Sorry, puss," she said, running her hand over Wando's back. He arched it up and rubbed his nose against her wrist, all forgiven. The fighting outside had escalated in the meantime. There was a scream from the woman, a scuffle of sorts, and a growling that gave Sarah Helen a chill up her spine. She thought she heard maybe a third person, but she couldn't be sure. Oh, how she wished she had her glasses on. She needed to call the police. That much was obvious. Where was her phone? Her grandson had bought her a cell phone that she never used. It was too complicated. She did have a cordless landline, but she was constantly misplacing it. And of course, now that she needed it, she couldn't find it. "Remember, this, your fault, pay for." It sounded like they were right up against the side of her house now, clearly not concerned about who was inside hearing them. Her home was feet away from Trad Street, so she was used to hearing people walking by at night. Rowdy people were not a foreign or scary sound to her after decades of hearing them in the night. But this was different. Even in her drunkenness, Sarah Helen could tell that something very bad was happening on the other side of her living room wall. She felt around the cracks of the Davenport, desperately searching for the phone as whoever was outside pounded something against her brick walls. She couldn't imagine what it could be or what was happening. And then, suddenly, silence. There had been screaming and what sounded like punching.